Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Over the Board chess series, where I go outside. At times I touch grass, but more often than not, I am inside of a building, playing with live physical chess pieces against live physical human opponents. For those of you that have been watching for quite some time and enjoy these recaps of my over-the-board games, it's currently December 2025. I have recently turned the ripe old age of 30, and now I will be playing a couple of tournaments this month. I just played my first game. That was literally the last video I made. In that game, both my opponent and I played at 99% accuracy. I felt a little bit, I don't know if dejected or disheartened was the right word after that game. But I figured, like, let's take it a game at a time, and let's see. And this game was spectacular. This next game, I really played well, and I'm very excited to show it to you. So, in this game, as chess goes nowadays, I was paired against a 12-year-old kid. Now, the ratings here don't tell the full story. He and I are not 270 points apart. Actually, these are FIDE ratings, and Leo plays mostly tournaments in America. His U.S. rating has recently crossed 2,200, and mine is like 2,380. So we're really like about 100-something points apart from each other. And frankly, at playing level, probably even closer than that at the moment. When I got this pairing, I thought, okay, I'm playing a young player. Obviously, this person is quite good in the opening, so I'm going to play b3. This was my first move, and I was very excited to have like a combative game in a ready Larson. I'm also putting out the B3 course on Chessly this week, so I figured that would be as part of the holiday challenge. So I figured that would be quite nice. Now he played knight f6. I played the bishop to b2, and he went c5. I didn't quite get c5. Like generally in this opening, people are trying to play for the middle a little bit faster. He played c5. I was trying to understand like what his idea was. Spent a little bit of time. I was considering my options, but I just went e3. He went knight c6. I went knight f3. And now black really needs to do something with the center pawn. If Leo had gone g6, I was even considering taking the knight. I actually really wanted to play this type of pawn structure because this reminds me of the old days when I would play in the Trumpowski. I would get nice control over the center, and we would have a game. But then he just went d5. And while this setup is good, it allows me to very easily develop my light squared bishop to the b5 square and put pressure on the knight. And I have various ideas like knight e5. Already, white has a very small advantage. This is a slightly inaccurate move order by black. And this is an even further slightly inaccurate move order by black. Because generally you should be putting the bishop on d7 to prevent me from taking and damaging your pawn structure. Now here already I can just take, and play like d3, knight d2, e4, and actually the computer considers this position, believe it or not, better for white, which is quite fascinating because you've given up a bishop, but these damaged pawns have a really tough time moving forward, and for the rest of the game they will be weak. It is kind of like a Nimso-Indian defense, but with colors reversed. I went knight e5 though. I mean, I didn't think any of this particularly mattered. If he went bishop d7, I was even thinking to take the bishop. He went queen c7, and I played the move f4. This is all very normal. In fact, I play this position with black quite a bit. I have a course on e6, b6 with the black pieces, and even a lot of my Dutch defense courses with black look like this. So I was very happy to get this pawn structure. Here, black really should develop one of the two bishops. Leo played knight d7, which actually already is a mistake. And I was very happy with this development. It was quite clear the inexperience in this type of opening and structure was showing. Here I considered several options, but I opted to take the knight on c6, which obviously damages the pawn structure, and now I castled. And I thought he's going to really struggle here because if he develops his bishop, now I take the knight and then I take the pawn, and that just doesn't work at all. And if he doesn't develop his bishop, I literally have no idea what else he's going to do. He has to take my knight. If he plays the bishop to a6, I mean, I just go pawn to d3. So we kind of play two very natural moves, but then his bishop is quite useless. So he took on e5, and here again I spent some time. I was playing a little bit slowly, and the reason I spent time is originally my intention had been to play pawn takes e5 in 2 seconds And my logic was, even though I block my bishop, I make it difficult for him to develop. I also open up my rook with pressure. I also have a queen coming with pressure. And I just thought logically this position looked like it made a lot of sense for me. But then when I got here, I thought of a really curious idea. I thought of bishop takes, and then he would move his queen. And I was like, hey, it's clear he can't develop. He wants to play f6. What if I go queen h5? And so in my head, I calculated he would go here, I would block, and then he would castle queenside, preparing f6. And I didn't know if this position was good or bad for me, because it felt like on the one hand, I played a bunch of logical moves, and then on the other hand, like, you know, he's going to play exactly what he wants. Like, I can go back, and he would play, you know, f6. I just didn't know if this position was good or not. The computer thinks it's actually quite good for white. I wasn't so sure. Like, I thought, okay, I'm going to play, you know, knight d2, and then I didn't really know what my targets were from here. So this was one option, and I contemplated for a bit. I ended up going back to pawn takes e5, although not as fast as I should have played. He goes bishop e7, and now I'm like, okay, he wants to castle and at some point break with f6. So I considered moving my queen to g4, and I considered moving my queen to h5. And the idea of moving the queen to h5 is that when he castles, I just literally try to checkmate him. Now, of course, I'm not going to checkmate him. Like rook h3, he will just play h6. But the point is that I am always threatening this checkmating attack, and so it is not easy for him to try to break in the center, because suddenly there is rook h3, there is queen g6, there's rook h6, there's a lot of threats. Frankly, there's even rook sacrifice threats, because after takes, I have pawn takes f6 with just a totally crushing attack against his king. So that was one option, to play queen h5, and the other option was to just play queen g4. Now, I went queen g4, the computer evaluates this as not as strong as queen h5, but both moves have a similar idea, like, he's going to castle this way, so why don't I put my queen on this side of the board? Now I had many options. First of all, one very cool and funny option that I had was rook f6. This move accomplishes nothing, except that he can't take my rook, and also I don't let him go here, but I thought he can just play king h8. What's funny is that I can continue with the game after this by just bringing my rook back, but rook f6 is a very funny move. But then I just played d3 because, well, obviously I want to bring my knight to the game. And now here I was thinking his best move has to be some sort of f-pawn push. I actually thought one of his better moves was queen d8 here to try to prepare the f-pawn push, but he went king h8, which struck me as a waste of time. Like, I didn't understand why he would put the, you know. So at this point I'm like, okay, look, this is obviously a very strong kid, but he is not playing, like in the best way, I thought. And so here, I actually have the move order wrong, which is kind of funny. I went knight d2 and then queen h5. I went knight d2, he went f6, and then I went queen h5. I have it in the other move order. And in this position, I thought, okay, he probably needs to play f5 because he needs to keep the center closed. And then Leo went here. And when he played bishop d7, I was like, wait a minute. Something isn't working here. So I was like, hey, what if I take on f6 right now? To try to obviously justify my bishop, my rook, and everything. So I calculated this sequence. Pawn takes, and I thought maybe the best thing for him is actually to take with a pawn, because then even though I have a very clear target, it's not so easy for me to get into his position, I thought. Like, rook f2, he's going to try to play for e5, and the position is still better for me, I feel, but like not, you know, not as good as I thought. And then I was like, okay, if bishop f6, rook f6, pawn f6, I play queen f7 and I'm winning. If we trade everything, I play queen f7 and I'm winning. He cannot guard his bishop and his pawn at the same time. It's not possible. He would go queen d8, I would play rook e1, he can't guard his bishop, and then I would play knight f3, and he's just going to lose. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, if we trade everything, I win. But if I take like this and he takes like this, I'm not so sure. Well, what's funny is, actually, this position is really strong, and one thing in particular that I missed is after queen h6, queen e5, knight f3, queen c3, I am completely winning in one move. I looked at this position from a distance, and I thought I would have to play, I don't know, frankly. I thought I was going to have to play rook c1, and then, you know, my pawn is hanging, and then he would play some rook move. I completely forgot in this position, I can go just straight up knight g5. Like, from a distance, from this position, I missed that after all of that, I have this knight g5 move, and my position is really, really good. So the reason in this position I did not trade the bishop was because I thought, wait a minute, I'm Gotham Chess. I can sacrifice the rook. can I play rook f6 here? Remember, if rook f6, and we trade everything, I'm winning. So I thought, okay, rook f6 is easy because after rook f6, he has to take with the pawn, and I simply play rook f1. And I did not see a way that he can stop the attack. And that is exactly what happened. I sacrificed my rook. Game review gives this a question mark, but it's plus 1.4. I mean, game review is a little stupid sometimes. I have no idea why this is given a question mark. It's actually a completely reasonable move. Takes, rook f1, and I just have a straight up threat of rook f6. Now, originally, in this position, I thought that he has to play bishop to e8. And I was going to play rook f6, sacrificing my queen for a double checkmate, which would have been pretty epic. I thought here his best move was rook f6. I would then play here. He would play king g8. I would play queen g5. He'd play bishop g6. And I would simply bring my knight to e5 and play h4, h5. And actually, yes, this is a completely winning position for white, which is pretty remarkable, I have to say. That, like, just getting here, and black just cannot make a single move. Black can play something like a queen a5 looking for mate. I play h4, king h2, and I win. He just cannot defend his king at all, which is pretty remarkable. So when I saw this, I was like, oh. I sat back, you know, there's a lot of kids at this tournament, probably friends with Leo or enemies. And when I played rook f6, they definitely were like, oh, the rook guy is doing the rook thing, which I thought was pretty hilarious. He found the only defense. He actually found a defense that I didn't see, but I figured I was still much better. He played e5. Now, the idea of e5 is that he's obviously trying to block my bishop. The problem is I'm the sacrifice the rook guy, so I sacrificed another rook. This is pretty amazing. Like, this is what I'm saying. He couldn't stop the attack no matter what. I sacrificed one rook, which was not completely necessary, but I'm, you know, I gotta try to do my best Mikhail Tal impression. And then I obviously sacrificed the second one, just bulldozing the defenses. I mean, this was an amazing game to bring back some of the hype for chess. The first game, 99%, you know, solid game. Couldn't really find, you know, any chances. Kind of killed my, you know, my hype a little bit. And then I'm playing this game. I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a genius. He goes d4. Now, at this point, I did something pretty stupid. I had about 25 minutes on the clock here, and my original intention when he played this, right, he's obviously trying to block my bishop. I have to be a little careful because if I cool off in the attack, I'm going to lose. I sacrificed a rook for a piece, right? So my original intention here was in 2 seconds to play the move rook f7. Now, the idea of rook f7 is obviously I'm threatening mate, and he has to trade with me. And now I have a very straightforward idea. I'm always threatening queen f6, and then I'm going to bring my knight, and slowly I will break these pawns up. I'm going to definitely win back at least one of them, and maybe even two, and in the long run, I will have a better endgame. So it's kind of weird because he's the only one with a rook on the board, but if we trade the queens and I win a couple more pawns, I'm simply winning because I have a bunch of pawns in the endgame and he doesn't. So when I saw this, I was just going to do this in 2 seconds. When I got here, however, I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I have to do this. I also looked at queen h6 with the idea of queen d8 and knight e4. And I thought this was really strong for me. I just thought this was crushing. But then I was like, you know, obviously the idea is to mate him. But suddenly I was like, wait a minute, like this is kind of unpleasant. Leo is getting way more defense than I want here. And all of a sudden, maybe I don't have anything. So when then I was considering other moves, like not just rook f7 and rook f8. I considered vaguely the immediate knight e4. I considered queen g5. And at some point I was like, what am I doing? Let's play rook f7. And in this position, he only has one move. One other fun thing in this position that I could have played, I could have went knight e4 immediately, which actually looks like it's completely winning. But he has rook takes. It just looks like there's mate coming, and I'm going to break apart the center. But it's actually not so clear. After bishop e8, which is kind of an insane move, literally just giving up a bishop, but then my knight is trapped. Now this would have been gnarly. Yeah, and it looks like I'm still winning. Like even if he plays bishop e6, I can play takes, bishop a3, and somehow I'm still winning here because I'm always threatening this mate. And if he plays something like queen g7, I play knight e8 with what? And after knight to e8, like if he plays, I don't know, queen, like he can't play queen f8, queen f7, I'm always taking on e5. So that's the key idea, is like this coordination of the pieces. After rook f7, though, he blundered. He played queen d8. I mean, he definitely needed to be more active with his queen. He needed to go for this position. Knight e4, queen e6, takes, knight c5 I thought was just very good for me. But in this position, queen h6 is the key. Queen h6 with the idea to counterattack. I actually didn't see this move at all, queen h6. I just thought like after one of these, I'm just winning. Yeah, he went queen d8, I went knight f3, and I relaxed. I was like, okay, the game is over. Game is over because he doesn't have any counterplay anymore. Anywhere he moves his queen, I'm playing queen f6. I'm going to win this pawn, and then after I win this pawn, I'm going to win this pawn, and then I'm going to win this pawn, and then I'm probably going to win this pawn too with my knight. So I'm basically in this position where I'm going to win all 4 center pawns. What a game. I mean, really, like, I got to pat myself on the back, you know? 2 rook sacrifices, a crushing attack. Like, I mean, you know, you play b3 because this bishop could participate in the game. And goodness me, is this bishop participating in the game? You know what I mean? Like, look at this. Like, we are just waiting our turn to absolutely bludgeon the king in the corner. He went bishop g4, and I think here he thought he had some counterplay after knight e5, queen g5. But he doesn't. He actually has no counterplay because when the queen comes to e3, I'm bringing my queen back. I am threatening the endgame. So I took on d4. And what's hilarious about this position is that I'm threatening mate in 2, basically. He has to go queen e3. For example, if he plays something like bishop f5, trying to block my queen from seeing over here, I have knight g6, which is an amazing move. And any way he takes back, I made him. I mean, I just made him with the bishop, which is, I made him with a pawn move. So e takes d4, he went, he went queen e3 check, I brought my queen back, and the point is that now we're trading queens, and I'm winning everything. I'm winning the pawn, the bishop, or the other pawn. He went here, and bishop d1. And now begins, the endgame conversion process. He's obviously just kind of making a few moves at this point. His idea is going to be to bring the king to the middle of the board. In the meantime, I'm going to win the pawn on c5. I'm going to win the pawn on c6. Here I had maybe like 10 minutes on the clock remaining. He had a lot more. He was playing very, very fast. My initial instinct in this position was to play pawn to c4 because it's obviously just advancing the pawn, and then I'm going to bring my king, and if he takes, I take on c6, and then I take on d4, and it's quite clear we're just going to start moving these pawns up the board. I mean, again, in a blitz game, I would have played this in 2 seconds. Then I started thinking, which is probably a terrible thing to do, really, for me. I should just, trust my instincts. And instead of that, I was like, hey, if I do that, if I go here, my pawns are not that advanced. If instead I take on c5, my pawn is a lot closer to queening, and if he takes on c2, at least I'm taking with a check, and then I can just start pushing my pawns. So that's exactly what I did. I brought my king to defend, and then I started pushing my pawns. What's funny is, pushing my pawns is wrong in this version. Why? Because they're not on the right color. If my pawns are on light squares, they coordinate much better in a way to prevent his pieces from getting active. And I had a sense that it mattered, but I kind of underestimated just how much it mattered. So for example, pawn takes d4, knight c6. If he plays like rook f8 and I go here and he goes here, ultimately what's going to happen is these pawns are all going to be standing together. Like knight d4, I don't know, some move. And then what happens is this pawn is going to get to d5, and it's difficult for his king or his bishop to fight back against the pawns. What happens in the game is actually he gets a pretty annoying blockade. I thought the second I win his 4th pawn, I just win the game, because I'm just going to push all my pawns. So I took it, he went here, and I thought, this is easy peasy. This is easy. I have 3 pawns. Obviously, this is just totally winning, even if he's kind of close. And I was right. But here I panicked. Panicked is the wrong word. Here, I found an idea that I thought wins me the game pretty easily. And I saw this idea. I could have went knight d6 fork. He would move his king. I would take his bishop. He would take my bishop. I would go here, and then I have to race these 3 pawns down the board while the rook is trying to take this pawn and promote this pawn. This is a totally winning position for white. It's not even debatable, because what happens is I go c6. He plays rook g1 to try to go here. I just push my other pawn. His king can't get close. If he attacks my knight, I don't even have to defend it. I can play d6. If he goes king e6, I can play d7. If he goes king e7, well, that's great. I mean, I just played, I don't know, knight c5, and I push all my pawns, and I win. He can't stop me. So rook a2 is played. I mean, knight d6, knight e4, king c3 is just winning. I mean, I just push my pawns. Instead, I went here to guard my bishop, And I just thought, okay, now there is no risk because I trap his rook and I just push my pawns. I mean, his rook literally has no moves. I'm going to push my pawn all the way. Except he can go here. And I can't push my pawn all the way. See, I expected something like bishop d5, b5, king d7, b6, and this to me felt like a completely winning position because the next thing I'm going to do is bring my knight. I'm going to try to trade it. You can't defend 3 connected passed pawns. It's not possible. But he went bishop c6 and I was like, "Oh my god. If I play b5, he sacks the rook." And even though I have 2 extra pawns in this endgame, this is a draw. This is a draw because opposite colored bishop endgames are drawable if you create a blockade on the opposite color. I thought 2 extra pawns is a walk in the park. I just win this position. Bishop c6, and now the only way I can continue to play this position for a win is to liberate his rook. But at this point, I had mismanaged my clock. I had maybe 4 minutes remaining, and I was not expecting any resistance. I mean, I just thought I'm completely, it didn't even occur to me that I could be throwing this game. Wasn't like, oh, I always do this. No, I just was like, oh my god, I can't go b5. Really? Do I have to let his rook out? Then I was like, yo, if I let his rook out and I don't win, he's gonna go here, here, and here and win my pawn, and then maybe he's gonna make a queen. It's +4. The computer is completely unimpressed. But I thought, well, okay, I'm going to bring my king back this way and re-push the pawn. So that's what I went for in low time, except this is just a draw. He just goes here. This is so wild. I don't have a move now. I trapped his rook, but then I trapped the rest of my pieces. All of our pieces are completely stuck. The bishop is protecting my king and knight from moving. My bishop can't move because the knight is hanging. My king can't move because the bishop is hanging. So the only thing that I can do here is to advance and walk into the exact position that he wants me to walk into. So in the game, after he went bishop d3, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a draw. So I went c6. He went king d6. I went b5, and he can just take my knight. He can just go here. And even though for a second I have 3 extra pawns in an endgame, it's just a draw. I can push this here, bishop here. It doesn't matter because he plays bishop c4, bishop a5 check, king to d6, pawn to c7, bishop a6. This is a draw. Because what happens now, the way you just automatically draw this, is you put your king on c8. King e3, king c6. If I go for this pawn, he goes king d7, king g5, king c8, and this is just a draw. I don't have a way through the position. So I offered him a draw and a few moves before, and he accepted. It was really funny. When he played rook takes a3, kids are hilarious, man. When he played rook takes a3, he knew that he secured the draw, so he got up and he was looking around, and his friends were looking so I wasn't even what's funny about this game is I wasn't even mad or upset at myself. I don't know what the right emotion is. I don't know if it's I'm so jaded by over-the-board chess and just doing various dumb things that I was like, wow, I didn't win an endgame up 4 pawns. That's when we were going for this position, it couldn't have possibly occurred to me I wouldn't win this game. This is child's play. You just push the pawns and you take and you just win. There's no way to not win this position. But this is my weakest point in chess. I frequently don't convert winning positions either because I'm nervous. In this game, that was not the case at all. That's generally when I play really good players, but that kind of makes sense. I don't know if I'm relaxing. I don't know if I have the technique. I talked to my friends about this, and they were like, well, you're just rusty. If you played a lot more, you would convert positions like this a lot easier because you just wouldn't relax, right? You would play the whole 3 hours. You wouldn't just... But yeah, I mean, after playing a game like this, coupled with the previous game there was not much to say about, but a game like this, I'm very conflicted. Because on the one hand, when I don't really overstudy and over care about chess, the results don't really matter as much. I don't get so stressed out. I don't get so nervous about tournaments. I don't put the pressure on myself that I have to have a good result. And then when I do train a lot and I do stuff like this, it's like, what am I doing? Games like this, if you have a long-term goal, it's all part of the process. Like this obviously exposed yet again, like one of the, weak points of my game, and I have to improve it, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is that only really matters if you have a very dead set goal and a plan and everything like that. And I don't know if that's me, to be completely honest. I mean, I really don't know. I ask myself that question once a month or once every couple of months. I really want to enjoy chess, playing, analyzing, talking to my opponents, etc. But at the same time, I get embarrassed playing games like this and then having to share them, and it's just a weird conflicting feeling. So actually, my first thought when I played this game was I don't want to play, I don't want to play tournaments and recreate this emotion, because the only time I have any positive emotions, obviously, is when I'm winning, is when I'm playing. If I won this game, I would have been all positive. But I probably will play my tournament later this month that I had planned. And I'll recap it as always, and we'll see. We'll see how I feel. We'll see if I can have some good vibes and try to learn from every game and shake off some of the rust. But I mean, I just feel like a bit of an idiot playing games like this and not winning them, because sack 2 rooks, play a beautiful game and just poop it all away in a span of a few moves in an endgame where I just wasn't accurate. Definitely frustrating. Hey, shout out to my opponent, by the way. Leo, because after this game, he beat an IM. He beat a 2,400 rated player, and he finished the tournament with 2.5 out of 4, which was awesome. So yeah, I mean, this dude's gonna be obviously very, very strong. And yeah, it's not every day you get into a Gotham recap. So shout out to Leo. Shout out to me, as always, providing good content, good entertainment, good good memes. And most likely, after Freestyle South Africa, I will be making recaps of my own tournament. Although I have to say I don't really want to play, but playing like this at least. But that's life. It goes on. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the game. I hope you enjoyed the inspired opening. And I'll see you for the next bit of content. Get out of here.